Good day, friends. I hope you're doing really well. And I know it's been a really long time. It's kind of like that thing when you have your favorite food and you eat it for a while, and then it's been a long time since you've eaten it. You realize how much you like that food and you've been missing it. That's how I've been feeling here with the quietness of this group. And I know that it's not like it's more of a resource group than anything else, like a super active kind of thing, because so much of the work that I do is embodied and not as informational. So we kind of have to do it together. But anyway, I'm so glad you're here and in this group, and when you have resources to share here with your friends that you're doing it, and I really appreciate that. So I know it's been kind of a long winter. I haven't done a post here since January, and that's not for lack of caring or having things to actually talk to you all about and share. But, like a lot of us have been in it. My daughter is a junior high age person, and she plays a sport. So that means that we're pretty busy in the winter. That's our season. So pretty much, I would say 2-3 evenings a week, plus weekends are kind of taken up, and don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. It's wonderful. And it just leaves a little less free time, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, of like, how do we help our clients navigate that kind of lifestyle too? It's hard, especially if you're doing recovery and you've got food needs that need to be addressed, but other people have needs too. So we'll talk about that. But I wanted to bring up the stuff I've been hearing in supervision sessions. So I, see a good portion of my client list is dietitians that want support with trauma-informed care and how to do it and practice it and grow their own skills and increase their own capacity. So these are just some things I've been hearing, honestly, over the last couple months that I wanted to share with you all, because maybe you're struggling with it too. I know there's some of this stuff in our practice, with our group here. There's 5 of us, and that we regularly go over each week in our Friday morning supervision hours as well. So let's just go ahead and get started. Is that I'm going to do the one that I see from you personally first, that I wouldn't say I'm struggling with, but honestly is taking more time, and I'll give you my tip of how I'm dealing with that. I'm just seeing more and more health issues in people who are coming who have eating disorders, disordered eating, but probably could get an offset diagnosis. And these are people in their 30s, 40s, and beyond, even 20s. They're just having more complex health issues. And I can make a lot of speculations what I think that's about. And, I know that it's all about, I won't say other things from environmental sources, but what I will say is that, like, the research is finally coming to be validated, to be perfectly honest, that adverse baby events, adverse childhood events, what more and more disembodiment and disconnection, not a lot of good co-regulation and regulation, plus other bad things have happened, it puts your body in a long-term chronic stress response. And to top it off with things that have been happening in our world the last 4 years, plus other stuff going on with the malnutrition and everything else, things are just way more complex. This is point number 2, is that we do a lot more triaging, meaning a person might come, and this happened in a case that I had recently, not my case, but it happens in my cases, but it's something I've been helping another dietitian through, is a person has kind of food allergies to everything, has celiac, chronic constipation, let's say, also has a business, long-standing an eating disorder that, wouldn't get an anorexia diagnosis, but it's, anorexia and a not a low body weight kind of stuff, and just been struggling with all these things. And it can feel like in those sessions, it's like, what do we even do in these sessions? And we'll talk about how to navigate that in a second. I'm just seeing more of that as well. And maybe you're feeling that way too, is that, like, I feel like sometimes I'm like trying to grab at the wind. What are we doing here? That's a lot more challenging if you haven't taken, some really specific, containment-based, bottom-up approach kind of work. If you've taken Fiona and I's course, we talk a lot about how to get your system and tools to use for your system into more regulation to not feel like you're just kind of chasing tails and not addressing all the things that maybe need to be addressed this second, but we're getting kind of blended in with other people's stories too much. And so we talk about that in that training. And if you haven't taken it, I would recommend it just for your own, honestly, your own mental, emotional health and sanity, and keeping your juice alive for the work with people, who are really struggling. So there's that. I'm going to talk about all these again, but go back around to it. I'm finding personally, and I know a lot of my supervisees talk about it, is people are coming, honestly, with a lot of times a more access to information, but they don't have the skills to apply it. And that's always been the case, obviously, with disordered eating disorders, just because of the lack of embodiment and the adverse childhood stuff and growing up in diet culture and all that. But there seems to be a higher level, the more dysregulation we're seeing is like literally not making doctor's appointments because having to use the phone and versus just everything being so digital. You're seeing people struggle skill set wise, and you may be seeing that too. Something that people are bumping into is our clients not having the right fit therapy wise. A lot of therapists who do eating disorders and bottom up work, they're usually quite full. And so, or maybe they don't take insurance. So a lot of our clients are kind of working with therapists who don't have a lot of experience, who aren't pursuing their own supervision or trainings to get more experience. And I think that's the hardest thing for us as dietitians, is that we end up holding so much, and it's frustrating. And so I would say, besides helping people role play parts work and practice some somatic skills with clients, that's the number two reason that people are coming to me for supervision right now, is that like they feel like they're doing it on their own because the therapeutic or the medical care they have just isn't skilled and is even doing more harm than good. All right, so we're going to talk through some of that too. I'm finding people are having even a harder time being willing. They're very, very hesitant to deal with discomfort. They desperately want a way out, some help. They say that, but struggling to even keep that first appointment, and I haven't seen that as much until like the last year or so. I'm seeing that like rise again, and it feels like 20 years ago for some reason in my system. It's like, this is how it used to feel when people didn't have any information. Emotions weren't like something we talked about. Like they didn't have that in their family system, and they're recognizing, and people are recognizing, I know I need to learn how to feel and deal, but I don't want to. But like this is ruining my life, and just the ambivalence is a lot higher than I haven't seen in a while. So maybe you're seeing that too. And in general, I'm seeing this, and that's just not everybody, it's not everybody across the board, but I have seen people say that their senses are just lower, and when there's real or perceived, and I know it's real, so there's no gaslighting here. I know it's real for so many people, but for a lot of people, I'm also seeing a lot of perceived scarcity financially, even though some of their lifestyle things they're not congruent with that. So that's the cause of some of that, I think. And whether it's, people who take insurance, people who don't. So when you have a lower census, but you are also an insurance provider, you want to be curious, like what's going on in people right now that they're just, and this could be more a capacity issue, and priorities, to be perfectly honest. If you're in a low threat response, sometimes other things that feel like other threats, they supersede maybe the eating disorder, and how they have more tolerance for that than they maybe do tolerance for other things that they need support for, or honestly, maybe they're just shut down. So this isn't all doom and gloom kind of video, by the way. I just want to have a place where if you feel like you need to name those things and you haven't had a place to do it, maybe you don't have regular supervision or a group of other professionals that you're talking with, and maybe you do, and this is old news to you and you're covered, and this video is not for you. But if you are struggling with your own capacity or your own spark with the work. Be curious about that. Which of these things or something else is feeling like it's taking another spoon that you just don't have. Okay. So I'll share with you what I'm doing with these dilemmas, because we're seeing little bits of all these things too. Not in every client and every month or anything like that. But it's out there. So I think the things that are been more challenging, honestly, for me in the last several months, but especially the last couple, is the growing complexity in health, whether it's immune health, long COVID. So I'm seeing so much of that, and I'm having to learn. So I probably spend, if I'm being really honest, a minimum of 2 hours a week in research, if not 4. And I'm being really, really honest, which obviously cuts into like video making time or reading other books or even doing trauma work, because it's becoming a bigger issue. And our concern was non-diet dietitians is like, who do we send these people to when most providers, they don't have the training and skills we do to do motivational interviewing, definitely trauma-informed care, and people go and they have terrible experiences because it's either so fat phobic, the interventions are too fast, they're too much, people don't understand them because the time isn't spent in educating people on the complexity of their health concern and how to do these things in stages. So again, if you have somebody who's coming with chronic constipation, probably celiac, but they don't want to get tested because they don't want to eat gluten again, so they won't get tested to confirm. They have multiple food reactions. They also have an eating disorder. They also have like their lifestyle is way too frantic and they're unsympathetic all the time. It's like, what are we doing with this? And I'm thinking, if we don't get these people some early wins. So point number 1 is like, I have to research more. So I've learned a lot about immune health and honestly, some of the treatments for long COVID in the last several months. And a lot of people are kind of showing up for me with some gut health stuff that isn't typical, like IBS and other things. They got some funk going on. So I've had to learn a lot about things I never thought I would learn about, like infections and parasites and things like that I'm like, whoa. Like I knew about things. I knew some general, both medical and alternative protocols that are out there. But now it's like people can't find anybody to do it. And so oftentimes I'm doubling up on appointments to like, we're going to do eating disorder care. And then we're also going to work on your symptomology. And also, of course, I know when to refer. It's like, we're going to do a couple of things that I know that I'm going to hurt you for the next 2 months. And if we're not seeing improvement, we need to go to somebody who's got, higher pay grade than me, but enough to get people started so they can get in to maybe specialist doctors that are on waiting lists, those kind of things. So yeah, I'm having to set aside time, honestly. And I typically do that when my daughter's at her sports practice. I just sit and have a notebook and my phone and doing that, and it's one of those things that I know we have to have a balance in our lives to not like make every moment of our day about trying to help people. I get that. But I think that's maybe the position we're in, or to work with people who have already done this work, right? The triaging thing, going back to that, is that like, okay, what is a person most miserable with? Could be their bloating, could be the constipation. That if we don't help them with that, they're not going to have a lot of motivation to continue to get the nutrition adequacy on the eating disorder side of things that they would need to keep moving forward in the recovery. So sometimes we have to do these things, get the right treatment. Again, if you have a local practitioner that's skilled in these things, please get them on your team. If you don't, not that you want to be an expert in more things if you're an eating disorder practitioner, but sometimes we got to know about some stuff, okay? People having the right fit for therapy has been a big issue, and there's 2 ways we can deal with it, really, is just being really clear with our clients without triangulating. This is the approach I use. They use a, let's say, manualized behavioral approach, which means they're not really digging in to some of the root cause issues. They're really just dealing with the here and now, what contract or what checklist of behaviors you need to do. And if that's not feeling intimate enough or relational enough for their client, they need to be telling their therapist. So we're doing that a lot. And then also like, well, maybe you don't have to get rid of them. Can you add a more somatic person to your team so they can get a feel for what's available and what's out there. And then eventually they make their decision, to keep it all, and then transition out of care with all the support, or maybe they end up transitioning to a different practitioner that has different skills, without getting yourself in this like battle and putting the client in the middle. All right, that's kind of the way we've had to deal with it. But I'm very honest with clients, is like, I approach it this way because this is my philosophy, that eating disorders are relational issues, and being unsafe in relationship is going to cause fight, flight, freeze, or please responses and behaviors. And so those turn into physical responses that you can't always therapize with talk therapy out of you. And if they're not getting that kind of work and they need it, you just kind of, sometimes I'm actually educating on the different modalities of therapy and what they do and what roles they play and how they're helpful or may they not be helpful, and let them choose from there, because they just don't know. And they're blaming themselves for like maybe the anxiety they're constantly having that's not being really addressed that well. So again, this goes with the health issue stuff at young ages. I think I've addressed that, but I think people need a lot of hope, and that something about stuff, even if you can't fix it all, and that you're in it with them. It's really important. What else can I say? Oh, I didn't say this one. I've skipped it. Identity. I'm having people of all ages really struggle with their differentiation, that the eating disorder isn't them, that their body isn't them. They're really struggling with that. And I don't know, it's just if there's just so much information out there about self-worth, self-image, self-whatever. But we need more nuance in those conversations about like that, because if people don't feel like there's anything else they are and can be in terms of their attributes, what they're living their life for, they're not going to want to let it go of thinking that they have to be the fit girl or the thin person or the person with the eating disorder. They don't know if there's anything else out there, and this is what their life has been for a long time. So anyway, those are IFS kind of conversations. So I encourage you to get supervision and more training if you can, to learn how to help people understand the function of all this. It's just really important. That's all I had to say about that one. Lots of role playing, lots of learning new language to help people. The lower senses thing, I'll just end this video with this, is that we do know, I've been at this since 2006. Yeah, so okay, 18 years. I was thinking it wasn't that many, but, and I've been through a couple different times. This is another time where it's like, censuses aren't as full because of, cost of things, and people tend to, do what they do. And they're in it in an activated way, feeling like it's never going to end. And I do get it. Some people are having to choose, between that and basic needs, and we're not pressuring those people. That's a place to offer lower cost things. I mean, I've had a group running for 4 years now that has accommodated people who can't do, individual sessions. And this is when things were good, a little more financially better for people. But those are things to think about, and also know that people need your face in it. I don't see that people are that successful with just self-studies only, to be honest. So, 1 out of 10, they can learn it, apply it, boom, they're okay. But the majority of the people that we work with need the co-regulation from your presence in those things. So I don't really buy into the notion of passive income per se. I mean, you can create products that serve an intellectual purpose. That's no problem. But to expect neurobiological change, that's not going to happen with a self-study. So it's really important that we just kind of honor that and accept that. And if you're looking to have another way to provide access to care for people who maybe can't access yours for whatever reason on a weekly basis, and they need it, then some kind of platform. I don't do programs. I just I do kind of ongoing. You come, you get what you need, you graduate, you're good, and it's ongoing. So it's always there for them if for as long as they need it, as well as if they need to come back. Just like individual care, I really tried to set it up in a group setting that would be individualized as possible as well. And so I don't really do programs. Occasionally we'll do like a workbook study, but it's just to like get people to read the materials more than anything else and to talk about it. I don't expect big changes in obviously 12 weeks or things like that. So I don't want to call them programs, I call them studies, just like you were taking a class. That's essentially what I call it. So there's all kinds of opportunities to think about. And you would only want to do things that you would enjoy doing. If you're going to go down this route, it's really important that you love the concept that you're developing and the material, and that you still love people, right? The people aren't there just to give you more income. You're there to help them get an outcome that would make their life better as well. So I hope this helps you. I know it was a little long. These are the themes that I'm seeing in supervision sessions with my supervisees, and I hope it helped you feel maybe less alone, a different perspective on maybe things you're struggling with. That's about it. So anyway, thank you so much. Please reach out, comment below. You can shoot me an email. There's something you'd like me to talk about, I'd be happy to. So thank you so much, and take really good care. And I hope to hear from someone or all of y'all soon. Thanks.